Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time for some more Lone Wolf. We're in book 7 and I didn't get to record last night because it was cold and windy and I was very sleepy. And guess what? It's cold tonight. In fact, it's probably colder. Not so sure about the wind. There definitely was some strong wind earlier today. Anyway, I'm recording now to make up for last night. And while I didn't get to record Lone Wolf last night, I did do a bit of troubleshooting and finally worked out a way to record Disciples 2. So, there is a possibility of a Disciples playthrough featuring on the channel at some point. I would like to show off Disciples 3. Yes, I'm aware there's free versions of Disciples 3, but the story of Disciples 3 makes more sense if you've sat through the story of Disciples 2 first. And I had incredible difficulty trying to record Disciples a few years back and gave up. Had another bash at it today, took a few hours, eventually got it sorted out and found a way to get it working. We'll see if I go for it, because the actual gameplay can get, the actual gameplay can get very grindy. Anyway, speaking of non-grindy gameplay, here we are, back in Castle Death. We've clambered up through the broken castle wall. We've defeated an illusory foe, found a not very secret door, because it was propped open by a dead body, and descended down into some sort of lower level. There's a man running towards us. He's clearly scared. He's running away from something. And whatever it is, it's bad. You sense that the man is petrified with fear. An aura of evil grows stronger by the second, radiating from the darkened archway like a terrible black heat. The evil is so strong that it blocks your discipline. You cannot be sure if the warrior is a friend or a foe. We can draw a weapon and prepare to defend ourselves, bearing in mind he's running towards us with a weapon drawn. Avoid a confrontation by running into the archway opposite, or draw an arrow and fire at the warrior. I don't think we want to hurt him. We could just run away, at which point we're picking up on his fear and it's spreading like wildfire. And we may actually become afraid as a result of this. It would be nice to know what he's running from. He's not exactly going to stop and tell us. So we should stick around at least long enough to see what it is. However, it could come upon us as we both struggle. But let's draw our sword and prepare to defend ourselves. The warrior is halfway across the walkway when a hungry shriek resounds from the arch. He spins on his heel and crouches in readiness for combat. A murmur of low mutterings follows, and the sound chills you. Then, gurgling and hissing through clenched teeth, 3 creatures, their shiny skins as black as night, creep from the shadows and fix you both with fiery stares. The warrior begins to shake, his sword wavering in his gloved hand. As the creatures stalk forward, his nerve breaks and he turns to flee towards you. "Save yourself, stranger! They'll eat you alive!" We could run with the warrior and evade the creatures by escaping into the archway opposite, which, in all fairness, this is a different number to run into the archway opposite away from him or without him. Attack him as soon as he draws close. No. Let him pass and face the creatures alone. No, I think we run. I'm sure he has good reason for it, and he doesn't seem hostile. "Stick with me!" shouts the warrior over his shoulder as you race along the walkway, the creatures hot on your heels. Events are happening too quickly for you to rationalize your actions. Instinct is now your only guide. At the arch, he suddenly stops, throwing his arms out wide to hold you back. You run headlong into him with a jolt that leaves you breathless, but his strong hands grab your backpack and keep you on your feet. "Snake trap!" he shouts, pointing at a stone slab set into the floor. "Curse this infernal place! Is nowhere safe from Zarda's devilry!" A shriek of malicious glee makes you turn your head. The creatures are closer than you had feared. "Jump!" cries the warrior. "For pity's sake, jump!" "We shall jump across the slab." Simultaneously, you jump across the slab, rolling over as you hit the stone floor beyond. The creatures laugh horribly. They raise their sinewy arms and spread their webbed fingers, shooting forth their talons like curved assassin's knives. They lurch forward and attack, blinded by bloodlust to the danger that lies beneath their cloven hooves. In an instant, their laughter turns to lamentation as the slab drops away and they disappear screaming as they plummet into a deep, dark abyss. Full of snakes. "We're as good as dead if we stay here," says the warrior in a broad Stornlands accent. "Come on, we best find ourselves a safe tunnel before they release Tracker. We'll have a horde of Zarda's pets snapping at our heels if we picks up our scent." You follow the man through a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers, descending by slope and staircase to deeper levels of this subterranean world. Not a word is spoken until finally you stop to rest in a small musty chamber, its entrance partially hidden behind a rockfall of scarlet stone. "How long have you been tunnel running?" your companion asks. When you reply that you've been in Kazan-Oud no more than a few hours, his face registers a look of surprise, followed by disappointment. "I'd have stood and fought with Dax had I known I was so near to the surface," he says, shaking his head and staring dejectedly at the floor. He tells you that he is Tavig and he comes from Suentina, a city in the western land of Slovia. In fact, we were remarkably close to Slovia recently. Tavig in the western land should be around here somewhere. Let's see if we can find it. Slovia. We got Tido, Takaro, Suentina. I think over the river is Vareta and the other. So it may be off the edge of the map. He tells you that he is Tavig. Oh, it's his name. And he comes from Suentina, a city in the western land of Slovia. Over a year ago, his sister was captured by Sadzar, the slaver of Gzor, when a ship on which she was a passenger was attacked by his pirate fleet off the island of Leo. 1,000 crowns as a ransom Sadzar placed on her head, and Tavig vowed he would raise the gold and save his sister or die in the attempt. Undaunted by the rumours he had heard, he travelled to Herdos to offer his services to the elder Magi to attempt the destruction of the evil that haunts Kazan-Oud in return for his sister's ransom. They agreed to his price, as they had agreed to scores of others before him, and sent him through the power shield with their hopes and prayers of success. That was 1 year ago. "One man alone could never hope to destroy Zarda, he who commands this fortress, for his powers have grown greater than the elders imagine. I tried, and I failed. Twice I've been captured, and twice I've escaped his maze, and now my only wish is to escape from this fortress of nightmares. I'm a tunnel runner, a survivor, a fugitive from Zarda's law, but I fear my time has nearly run out." Drawing his sword, Tavig walks to the entrance and peers into the corridor outside. "Look beyond your side, stranger," he says, and hurries away. You call out to him to wait, to tell you more of what he has learned of Kazan-Oud, but your pleas go unanswered as he disappears into the tunnel. We could follow him, or continue alone. Well, He's bid us farewell and gone his way, so he wants to be alone. There are dangers down here. He may need our help. Much more importantly, he knows how to survive down here. So we may be able to avoid some traps or nasty things by following him and observing what he has done, or just being with him. He did say he's been captured a couple of times though, so yeah, we'll give it a go. Your basic Kai skill of tracking enables you to stay on Tavig's tail. As you retrace the route you took earlier, your mind is filled with urgent questions. Who or what is the tracker? Where do the Dax come from, and who is Zada that Tavig spoke of so fearfully? Suddenly your thoughts are shattered by a scream that resounds from the top of a staircase directly ahead. Tavig appears, clutching his face, blood trickling through his fingers. He is about to fall when the scaly green fingers of a gigantic hand reach out of the darkness and snatch him back. He vanishes from sight, but his screams grow louder. We can charge up the stairs and try to save him. It's the hand, isn't it? It's the hand! One of the most memorable monster pictures in this book. It's just a big hand. Tavig is barely visible inside the massive fist that is retreating down the tunnel. His screams and the low rumbling ground of the monster that holds him echo in your ears as you unsheath your weapon and give chase. You must strike on the move if you are to break the monster's grip and save Tavig from a ghastly death. The giant fist has a combat skill of 10 and an endurance of 42. And we need to try and defeat it in 3 combat rounds. Lone Wolf's combat skill is 34. That is a plus 24. We're obviously just rolling in the top column, trying to get an 8+, but anything over a 5 a couple of times would be good. Eight. Enemy killed outright, no damage to Lone Wolf. The combat did not take 4 rounds or more. A terrible moan shakes the tunnel as your blows sever a finger from a monstrous hand. The others instantly spring open, dropping Tavig, bloodied and dishevelled in a heap on the gore-stained floor. As the hand withdraws into the gloom, you kneel by Tavig's side and try to aid him as best you can. His injuries are severe, he is on the very brink of death, but we do indeed have the Kai discipline of curing. And we have no need of it ourselves right now, so we can concentrate fully on him. Desperately, you use your mastery of healing to save his life, applying your power to the open wounds that disfigure his face and throat. The bleeding stops and his heartbeat grows stronger, but you sense that it is only a temporary reprieve. His back is broken, and here, in this hostile fortress, there is no hope for his survival, and recovery is with so serious an injury. Briefly, he regains consciousness and forces himself to speak. "Beware the maze, Northlander. Green is death." Well, we'll take a note of that. It is all he says before slipping away into endless sleep. You close his sightless eyes and lay his sword upon his chest, as is the custom in the land of Slovia when a valiant warrior falls in battle. Notes. We can respectfully leave the body and continue, or search the body before we go. Could the hand be coming back? I mean, losing a finger is a pretty painful, long injury. It'll take a long time to recover. Other things may come to the noise. Although seeing the illustration of the hand lets me know I'm on the track I took originally many years ago when I played through this adventure. Hopefully a correct track, or at least one with a modicum of success. So, if we search for body, Anything glass will have probably been shattered already, and a lot of his belongings could be damaged by the crushing of the hand. But he might have something important, some kind of key or object. His pack and the pockets of his leather armour contain the following items: enough dried meat for one meal, some rope, a blanket, a dagger, a vial of blue pills, a bottle of water, and a power key. Very useful if we had lost our power key already. Although all of these items, with the exception of the power key, which is a special item, are backpack items. If you wish to take any of them, remember to adjust your action chart accordingly. I kind of want to take the second power key as a backup. In case somebody steals our power key. But I imagine having a second one won't be taken account of. A bottle of water, vial of blue pills. Oh, look. We have just enough space to carry both those. Everything else here is generic stuff we could... If you have the Magna discipline of curing, you can identify the nature of the blue pills. That sounds like a really good idea. They might be poisonous or very bad for us. The blue pills are made from the dried and crushed roots of the sabito plant, commonly found in the Boari jungle, but rare in any other part of Magnamund. They enable the human body to extract oxygen from water by absorbing it through the skin, thereby allowing anyone who swallows sabito root to breathe underwater. There are enough pills for one full dose. Record them as sabito. So perhaps we wouldn't be able to use them if we didn't know what they are. You thread your way through a network of empty passages and chambers. Twice you are forced to hide when groups of black-armoured warriors appear unexpectedly. At first you think that they are Drakarim, evil humans who worship the Dark Lords of Helgadad. Wait, no, it's Drakarim, not Drakarim. Is it? I can't remember now, hang on. No, Drakarim. It's like the Drakkar, right? The Viking ships. Yeah, Drakarim. But it's not. It's Drakarim. Evil humans who serve the Dark Lords of Helgadad, but their unnaturally long arms and tails that swing behind them soon dispel that fear, replacing it with a far greater one. At the bottom of a narrow, winding stairway, you arrive at a small but opulent furnished chamber, its walls hung with beautiful tapestries, undamaged by the damp that pervades the upper levels of the fortress. It looks as if you have reached a dead end, and you are about to turn back when you notice a small door tucked away in one corner of the room. We could open the door, or let's take a look at the tapestries first. Especially if there's anything hiding behind them that's going to jump out at us. The designs are woven from pure gold and silver, studded with gems and semi-precious stones. You marvel at the craftsmanship and beauty of these tapestries. They must be worth many thousands of crowns. One gem in particular catches your eye, a large diamond. Unable to resist the temptation, you prise it from the cloth and drop it into your pocket. Let's hope that doesn't get us into trouble later on, before leaving the hall by the door. Okay. Now, the maze, and green is death, is making me think of the gemstones from Death Trap Dungeon. And we've just found a diamond. Interesting. A dark corridor greets you beyond the door. You enter and feel your way along the wall, guided only by a tiny light in the distance. The sudden screech of metal sends a chill down your spine, and to your horror, you see a wall of black iron falling in front of the door. Portcullis is dropping. Oh no. In a matter of seconds, the exit is sealed off completely. A loud hissing fills your ears, and a strangely bitter smell assails your nostrils. By the time you realize that the air is being flooded with a powerful sleeping gas pumped in through tiny vents near the door, you are already succumbing to its irresistible power. It seems capture was unavoidable. Oh, so many faces. That one even seems to have teeth. It's probably not. It's probably the bottom of a nose, but it looks like a crooked, lopsided grin. You awake to such an astounding sight that you feel sure you must be dreaming. Before you lies a titanic circular hall of glittering marble, rising tier on tier like a gigantic amphitheatre. A vast pit fills the centre, from which arises a pinnacle of black iron, which is licked by sheets of flame that roar up from the depths below. Scores of seated creatures crowd the tiers, every one of them staring at you, their eyes like pinpoints of fire gleaming coldly in the shadows of their hooded robes. You hear the rustle of their mocking laughter, and your skin prickles with eerie premonition. A great gong booms in the distance, and a doleful chant arises from the crowded tiers. An urge to run from this evil place grips you like a fever, but your wrists are manacled securely to a bronze ring fixed in the wall above your head. "Let the trial commence," commands a mighty voice, filling the hall with clamouring echoes. As one, the robed spectators rise from their seats as a shaft of light pours down upon the pinnacle, illuminating the outline of a man, white-haired and gaunt, seated on a massive throne of solid, gleaming gold. Suspended in the air above his head are two crystals, one as clear as a polished diamond, the other as black as the grave. A crackling arc of energy travels between the two, and its flickering blue light sheds a ghostly shadow on the face of the seated lord. "Intruder," he says, his voice soft yet chilling. "You have come to Kazan-Oud with murder in your heart. Have not the cowards of Elzian promised to reward you for my destruction?" A drone of dissent surges from the crowded tiers, drowning any answer that you offer in your defence. The Lord rises slowly. Well, it's a show trial after all. The Lord rises slowly from the throne and turns to his baying minions, his hands outstretched as if to receive the adulation. As their ghastly drone grows louder, your eye is drawn to the clear crystal that hovers above the throne. A golden light now glows at its core. In a flash of understanding, you recognize the object of your quest. Here is the Lorestone of Herdos. "Your verdict, my children?" cries the wild-eyed man, his voice now harsh and angry. "Guilty, Lord Zada!" the crowd howls in reply. "The sentence?" retorts their master. "The maze!" they scream. "The maze!" We do possess the somersault, and have it on our person, allegedly. A rickety, hunchbacked creature, swathed in a hooded robe, approaches the platform on which you stand, manacled to the wall. With an efficiency born of practice, quickly he strips you of all your weapons and hands them to an ugly-faced dwarf hovering at his side. The dwarf looks at the somersault with an appraising eye, then raises it above his head to show it to his master. Before he can speak, there is a sudden roar as a bolt of gold energy engulfs the hilt. Screaming with pain, the dwarf drops the sword and cradles his smoking hand, his fingers now missing half their length. You are unable to hide your smile and are quickly punished for your insolence. The robed creature strikes you across the face, gashing your cheek with its rough, warty fist. We'll lose an endurance point, which we'll get back next section. "Take him to the maze," commands the white-haired Lord Zada, "and leave the sword for me." The somersault rises into the air and floats towards the golden throne in a cushion of blue mist. According to the Lone Wolf Club newsletter number 6, in Book 2, Section 79, it states that in order to release the power of the Summer Sword, only a Kai Lord should wield it. Should it be used in combat by anyone who is not a Kai Lord, its power will fade and be lost forever. The dwarf in Castle Death did not use the Summer Sword in combat, and therefore its power has not been diminished as a result. As far as I understand it, he's holding it up in the scabbard. You know, he's not brandishing it in a... Although if he is holding it by the hilt when he raises the sword, that is not... I understood him to be like grabbing the scabbard and holding it up with both hands above his head. Anyway. As you are dragged from the hall in chains, you are taunted by Zarda's cruel laugh and the fear that your quest is now doomed to failure. Erase all weapons and weapon-like special items from your action chart and make a note of them on a separate piece of paper in case you should rediscover them at a later stage in your adventure. We'd bloody better. Now. Da 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 da. Interestingly, I want to do something stupid. So, the mace, the summer sword, the dagger of Vashna, the silver bow of Duadon, the... where is it? The jeweled mace. Bizarrely, they probably let me keep my arrows. Now, I'm going to do something silly. If we do not have the summer sword, they still take our weapons. That's what I wanted to check. I don't think it will be possible to miss our weapons and complete the adventure. I'm pretty sure we can recover everything. But I don't know for certain. It has been a long time since I last played this book. An escort of armed guards forces you along a steel passageway lined by a crowd of jeering minions. They punch and spit as you pass between them, and their foul curses ring in your ears. The guards halt before a huge door of iron and unlock the manacles that encase your bruised and bloodied wrists. The points of their spears never wander far from your throat, discouraging any attempt at escape. The door rumbles open, and a cheer goes up as you are pushed headfirst into a foul-smelling pit. "Welcome to the maze," sneers the chilling voice of Lord Zarda from somewhere high above your head. You struggle to your feet and peer up at a ceiling of swirling mist. A faint glow is gradually taking shape, condensing and forming into the likeness of a human skull. Baleful green eyes stare down at you from bone sockets, and a powdered wig like that of a High Court judge sits squarely upon its fleshless head. "You came here to kill, but your plans have been foiled, and now you must face the consequence," echoes a voice. Oh. That's not his voice. "You came here to kill, but your plans have been foiled, and now you must face the consequence," echoes a voice in the skull. "You have been sentenced to enter the maze of Zarda. If you escape, your life may be spared. If you fail, then you will surely die. A fitting end for one who came here in search of death." Do they call Kazan-Oud Castle Death because they want the death of the person who rules in it? The skull retreats into the mist, and a deathly silence fills the pit. A semicircular shadow forms in the wall ahead. It grows larger and darker until it resembles the mouth of a cave or tunnel. Suddenly, a gust of chill air whistles from out of this darkness, and you realize that you are staring at the entrance to the maze. "Enter," orders the voice. "Enter or die where you stand." It is no idle threat. A crossbow bolt slams into the sand barely inches from your feet, and the clink of a steel drawstring warns you that another could follow if you disobey the command. Reluctantly, you step forward and enter the Maze of Zada. That would have probably been a better place to end it last time, wouldn't it? Oh well. You're standing in a passage, the walls and floor of which are completely sheer and smooth. Overhead swells a mist that gives off a dim, diffused light, just sufficient for you to be able to see your way overhead. Without your weapons, you feel naked and vulnerable, but you take some comfort in the fact that you have your backpack, your gold crowns, and your special items. Cautiously, you walk along the passage, expecting the unexpected until you arrive at a circular vault. There, upon a block of marble in the centre of the floor, lies a steel sword. As you step into the vault, slabs of stone sink into the floor and reveal two exits, one to your left, one to your right. We should check. We have divination, but I strongly suspect this is a trap. The sword itself appears plain and unremarkable, but the block on which it rests gives off a strong aura of magic. Your Kai mastery makes you wary of stepping any closer. We do not have the discipline of Nexus to levitate it from a place. We have rope, so we could try to form a lasso and obtain the sword that way. But that would still involve interacting with the block on which the sword lies. Also, we should reduce our... Okay, so we get 3 for weapon mastery. I think we're down to, let's see, 2 for the shield, 2 for the helmet. So down to 23, right? Free, right, yeah. We'll ignore the sword and leave through the left-hand tunnel, because fighting fantasy rules until we know otherwise. Now, it could be, chance to get the sword, leave without it, struggle without it. I think we lose 3 combat skill for fighting without a weapon, so we'd be down to 20. Which is still semi-decent. And there may be another weapon further in. Or we could just use our rope and take the bait. Sod it. I mean, if the rope explodes, You have no difficulty in looping your rope around the hilt of the sword and drawing it towards you. It is a very plain, heavy-bladed weapon of poor quality and unworthy of your scabbard. But in this strange and hostile maze, this rough steel blade helps to restore your hope of survival. We now have a weapon. We will leave the vault by the left-hand tunnel. After a few hundred yards, the passage turns abruptly to the right. Glinting in the dim light is a cluster of huge bubbles floating languidly up and down in the passage ahead. A slight breeze lifts them and slowly they bounce towards you. Oh, this can't be good. We can push our way past them and continue on our way along the passage. Strike at them with our sword. If they burst on us, it'll be bad. If we strike one, it'll burst anyway. They may not burst on us, they might just bounce and rub on us. Or we could go back the other way. I will push my way past the bubbles, trying not to interact with them. Your hand passes through the surface of the first bubble, meeting little resistance. It is as if you are dipping your hand into a pool of water, but when you try to remove it, the rubbery skin closes in a vice-like grip. You fight to free your hand, but you only cause the bubble to work its way further up your arm. Soon it envelops your whole body, locking you within its airtight skin. Your eyes bulge and your lungs burn viciously as you fight for air in this transparent prison and lose 6 endurance points. Well... we should have been back on full for a long time. With a sword, and could try and cut our way out. With a torch and tinderbox or a lantern, we've got a cult fire sphere. I'm going to use that. And you'll notice that that wasn't a do you want to use it like the other two. This was a look, you've got it. Breaking open the two halves of your fire sphere, you hold the magical flame close to the transparent skin. It quickly melts a hole and a great gust of air surges into the bubble, splitting the skin wide open from top to bottom. Holding the fire sphere before you, you melt a path through the other bubbles. As the flame punctures their jelly-like skins, they implode and plop to the floor in tatters, and, as we're not in combat, we can regain a point. You move on. Your eyes peeled for the slightest hint of danger. A shadow on the floor in the distance makes you wary, and your fear soon turns to dismay when you see that it is a deep, dark pit, which covers the corridor with 30 feet of blackness. A sudden glow in the mist overhead heralds the unwelcome return of the skull. The path across defies your sight. Find the path, or stay and fight. We do have the discipline of divination. You sense that a bridge, hidden by a powerful spell of invisibility, spans the pit. Kneeling at the edge, you sweep your hand back and forth in the hope of locating it, but a noise in the passage makes you stop and turn. The sound of heavy footsteps grows louder, but the passage looks deserted. Frantically, you continue your search of the invisible bridge. It's a pure random number roll. Do we find the bridge, or do we fight? We roll a 6. Okay. You sweep the yawning pit, but with no success. Suddenly, the footsteps halt. You hear a piercing crack like that of a whip, and an angry red wheel opens across the back of your hand. We lose 2 endurance points. But we should have got one back for this section as well. You feel his presence, but you cannot see the enemy who dealt you this wound. We can continue searching for the crossing, because illusions have been used here before. We'll stay and fight, at which point we'll then be able to search for the bridge safely. Another crack cuts the air, and you flinch as the invisible whip draws a crimson line across your thigh, which is another 2 endurance points, which we will mark down now. You strain your Kai senses, trying to discover the location of your enemy, but the magic that shields him is very strong. Unless you have the Magna Kai discipline of Hunt Mastery, which we do not because we chose Pathmanship instead of this book, reduce your combat skill by 2 points for the duration of the fight. If you possess a blanket, a red robe, or a towel, we had a towel a few books ago. You may wrap it around your forearm as extra protection from the blows of your enemy, which will increase your combat skill by 1. We do, however, have a shield. So, we're fighting at combat skill 21. We're fighting at -3. That's okay. Run back along the passage. That's probably not wise. Okay, well, we'll roll it out. -3 will be this column. We roll a 5. Can I... 3, 4, 5. Lone Wolf loses 4 endurance, and the Invisible Whipmaster loses 5. Not the greatest start. we may roll better. We rolled a 2! Haha! Lone Wolf loses 5 endurance down to 12. And the Invisible Whipmaster loses 2. This is going to be painful. Could do with a higher roll. Another 2. You know what? Bloody map tools dice, isn't it? Okay. Starting to get dangerous now. Okay, well... let's try that. And we roll a 6. So Lone Wolf loses 3 endurance and the enemy loses 6. Oh, this is not good. I'm not sure we can win this one now, actually. Even with very good rolls. 5. We dead. We're dead. Yeah, we needed exceptionally good rolls to make it through that fight. That's a tough one. And you know what's really annoying? I think we've done very well up to this point. I mean, you know, a nice dice roll may have made us find the bridge. Just going back. Continue to search for damage. Crossing is more room. Put yourself onto just try and strike. More very random dice rolls, presumably while being attacked. That is really risky, and of course they just want to encourage us to go and run back and take the other passage. And you know what? Wait, 322. $64 is an auto kill. Okay. Fair enough. So we'd need to go take that right hand tunnel very soon. Which would be different. It's not as if these two exits are color coded in any way. Well, that's annoying. I don't necessarily think I did anything overly wrong up to this point. I think I just had some bad rolls. And it's a tough fight. So I'll just have to accept it and say, that's a real shame. Oh well. Back to the beginning of the book I go. Pretty much, was I on full health at the start of this episode? I think I was, in which case I can pretty much off-screen it and get back to there because of the constant healing. I can pretty much get back to where I was fairly easy. So I won't be saving any changes to the character sheet. That was a shame. But it goes to show that playing a book I haven't played for 20 or 30 years is tough. Okay, so I read the intro and looked at section 1 about 13 years ago. You know, I think I did okay. Just bad luck. Not a lot I can say about that. It's a shame, obviously. We didn't even get a your life and your quest end here, or your life and your mission end here, which we often get in all the auto kills in the series, pretty much. What's to say? Just, I don't feel bad about it. Just bad luck, really. I have a feeling that all paths lead to the entrance to the maze. And I'm okay with the way it turned out, honestly. It's a learning experience. we know it's hard and nasty, and maybe we'll take the right-hand passage next time, as the Fighting Fantasy rules seems to stop somewhere around book 5 or 6 in the series, ever so slightly. Although it's either book 7 or 8 where it becomes, I think it must be book 7 then, the bit in the darkness at the end of the 5 auto kills in a row to dodge, which are all 50-50 choices. It's right, left, I think. But I know the first 2 turns are right-hand turns. Anyway, I'm going to leave this one here then, I suppose. Feel a bit crestfallen. Go take a bit of a break. I don't feel too bad, though. You know? I almost feel like recording something else. But maybe I'll just go have a bit of a lie down first, because it is nearly 2 in the morning. Alright, I'll say bye for now then, and see you all next time. If you want to give any comments on how well I've handled the maze so far, or how badly, feel free, the comment section's there, you're all welcome to use it, and I'll probably be looking at it sometime before I record the next episode anyway. Bye for now, everyone. For Sommerlund and the Kai.